Let's get an insight on what the judgment of yesterday means for the ADC and the continued push for the plurality of democratic and political participation in Nigeria. Being joined by Professor Osumbo, who is live for us here in our Abuja studio. He's one of the ADC leaders. Prof, it's good to see you again.
Good evening. It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much indeed.
I'm glad to be here.
You saw what Mr. Abdullah said today. He said, INEC disappointed some of you in 2023 and not to be trusted again. Is that the position of some of you leaders?
Well, I think the last time I was here in this studio, I also expressed my personal concern and fear about the neutrality of INEC and their ability to deliver free, fair, and credible elections in 2027. I expressed that fear. That was in the wake of this, what the phrase Nigerians now know, status quo ante bellum, which they wrongly interpreted to mean that the leadership of ADC that they had recognized since the 29th of June 2025 was no longer to be recognized, and they were barred from access to the INEC portal. Luckily, that was laid to rest by the Supreme Court that said it was wrong even for the Court of Appeal to have issued that order, and it was therefore wrong for INEC to have relied on that Court of Appeal order to shut the leadership of ADC out of access to the INEC portal. I must say that since then, it would appear that INEC has tried to behave in a more responsible manner, if I may put it that way, and they demonstrated this in the case instituted by the National Forum of Former Legislators, Incorporated Trustees of the National Forum of Former Legislators, when they came out to depose to an affidavit that ADC had met all the constitutional requirements, that their INEC is the body that is charged with regulating political parties. They have diligently carried out that exercise, and as a result of that, they came out to say that ADC was in full compliance and did not deserve to be deregistered. That was quite commendable, because the impression that many people have is that INEC may be in cahoot with those who want to shut out opposition political parties from contesting the 2027 general election, particularly against APC candidates. But that singular action by the leadership, by INEC, restored some hope in INEC that maybe they realized the mistake that they made when they acted by removing the names of our chairman and national secretary.
But does that also, that the burden of proof that INEC showed in the trial court, in the Professor Leaf, Justice Leafu's court, does it resonate in the judgment of the appeal court in the manner of speaking of the lead judgment? It was a unanimous judgment. The manner in which the respected honorable justices of the appeal court came out against Justice Leafu's ruling, to the extent of how much of reliance Justice Leafu's evidence, the evidence he relied on in determining the matter, and for someone like you, a legal mind, what does that portray, or what does that portend for a trial court at that level and for judiciary generally, in the manner, in the language that the Court of Appeal used against Justice Leafu's ruling?
It was very disturbing, Sheon. But before I dwell on this, let me just qualify what I said, that INEC was beginning to earn back the trust of Nigerians. But there are two things that still bother Nigerians. That their attempt to revalidate voters' card. There was really no point for that attempt to revalidate cards, and many suspected it was in fact an attempt to invalidate people's cards so that they can use those cards during the 2027 election. And there was a massive outcry. And thankfully, INEC saw that this was a very unpopular move. And if there was any sinister motive behind it, that motive had become public knowledge. Again, that didn't do any credit to INEC's credibility and image. And then secondly, during the Ekiti governorship election, we saw cards being shared out to people
on social media.
On social media, with people obviously to go and vote for APC. It was an APC kind of gathering. How did those people get access to those cards that they were sharing to people who apparently had not been registered to vote in those units? So those kind of conducts, activities still cast serious doubts on the credibility and whether or not we can rely on INEC to do its job with neutrality. Now to the question about the judgment of the Court of Appeal yesterday. It is highly disturbing for many reasons. For the main reasons that the Court of Appeal set aside the judgment of Justice Lifu. First is that the Court of Appeal had issued an order staying further proceedings on that matter before his court. But he simply disregarded that order of a superior court and said he will go ahead, and that the Court of Appeal cannot arrest his judgment. He is beyond that. That is disturbing for a lower court to completely disregard orders from a superior court. Because democracy, the rule of law, thrives on obedience to court order. We have been seeing some of that from the executive arm of government. People in the executive, governors not respecting court, but for a court to disregard the order of a superior court is unprecedented, as far as I know, in the history of Nigerian judiciary. So it's conduct that is to be highly deprecated.
And if you look at part of the, not the ratio, it's the obiter, I think, where the court was driving to the point that on what basis did Justice Lifu, what evidence did he rely on in determining, when INEC says proving the burden of proof in the matter, to say I have the power to be able to ascertain what organization is fit to be a political party in Nigeria, and what evidence does Justice Lifu rely on in determining that ADC is not fit and proper to be a political party. That statement may not be represented in the ratio of the judgment, but in the obiter, which is also the position and the optics of that judgment. What does this mean? Because I've heard a few of the leaders of the party to say they are not just taking this line low, they are also pursuing this matter and taking it before the NJC. Do you think it's worth it?
Well, it is conduct that should be condemned by everybody, and I'm sure that the Nigerian Judicial Council, National Judicial Council, will not take lightly the conduct of Justice Lifu. But let me agree with you, as the learned justices of the Court of Appeal found, that INEC, that is the regulator, came out, deposed to an affidavit that ADC and the other political parties had met the constitutional threshold. So they didn't deserve to be deregistered. They deserve to continue to exist. But the National Forum, the case they brought before the court, which is maybe regrettably was supported by the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, was that these parties, including ADC, failed to meet the constitutional requirements. But they didn't specify, the National Forum, the plaintiffs, didn't really say what ADC failed to achieve. The INEC actually said that ADC won some seats and exhibited those seats that were won in the 2023 election, which the plaintiffs didn't. The plaintiffs carefully avoided coming out to admit that ADC, in fact, won seats. They never made mention of that. If they had made mention of that, then perhaps they would have been the ones properly to say, well, they won those seats, but those people have left. They didn't. It was not Justice Lifu who manufactured that evidence by himself to buttress the case of the plaintiffs. I believe you get.
I've listened to the judgment, and
it is a very elementary principle of law that a judge must decide on the basis of evidence presented to him.
Yeah.
On the basis of the evidence, the facts presented to him. It is not for a judge to go and manufacture evidence to support.
But the judge also can deduce from the evidence and the positioning or the the positioning of the counsel in the matter. Can deduce.
Yes.
Based on what you have said,
yes.
I've deduced from it. The inference that are provided in your evidence, I could deduce that it is because evidently, what an evidence, then in cross-examination, what you are evidently saying, you are not telling the judge, this is exactly, you present it before, and it's left for the judge and the court to be able to make up his mind on what it is.
You are right, Shion, that a court is entitled to balance the evidence that is presented before it, to know which one has probative value and the relative, balance them and see which one is believable or more believable. But here the evidence was not presented. So the judge manufactured the evidence himself, weighed it himself.
Officially, is the ADC going to the NJC?
We had actually petitioned Justice Lifu to NJC, yes. We already have a petition against him.
And you are pursuing it?
We are pursuing it. We will pursue this, even additional reasons for us to pursue it. Because it's in everybody's, it's incumbent on all of us to ensure that we have a sanitized judiciary.
But this is not the end of the journey as far as judicial process is concerned.
You are
this
right.
is just the appellate court.
You are right.
They can go upstairs.
Yes, they're entitled to go upstairs.
So if that happens, and it goes otherwise.
You know, the Supreme Court of Nigeria, you know, if they are going upstairs, it means going to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has said over and over again that they will not tolerate violation of court order. No matter how perverse a court order is, it is not for anybody to violate that court order. And they will come very hard against anybody who violates a court order. How flagrant can a violation be more than what Lifu did? To say to Court of Appeal, yes, I am aware, I have seen, I have received, I have acknowledged your stay of proceedings, but I will not obey it because you don't have any power to arrest my judgment.
But again, there are those who will say the position or the stay from the Court of Appeal was just on a matter that has not been decided by Justice Lifu's court. So on what basis is the Court of Appeal saying stay? No, on what matter? Because Justice Lifu in his court also will say, well, what are you staying for? On what basis? Do you even have the meat of the matter presented before me? And can you also stop another court from carrying out justice? Is not a perversion of justice? So the arguments.
No, I'm afraid, Shehu, you've got it wrong. I'm sure that what is operating in your mind is the appeal against Gombe case, which was appealed to the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal said it was premature.
Okay, and the issue of
because there was no court order. There was no order issued by Wite before the appeal court went to the appeal court. Yes. Yeah. But here, he had dismissed, he had ruled on applications and dismissed the applications. Yes. So he had entered what you could regard as a judgment. It was that judgment or order that was appealed to the Supreme Court. So it's different from what happened.
So Prof, what does the judgment of yesterday, what does it portend for your party?
Well, it means that one more of the impediments that are being thrown on our way has been surmounted.
But there are a few more.
Gombe's case is still in the... It's still before Lifu. So we are not completely out of the wood yet. But we have faith that everything does not stop with LIFU. We have opportunities to go get justice over and above whatever LIFU may choose to do.
But those are arguing also once the process starts, you get into campaign, can any political party still be stopped at that point? Wouldn't all of these cases become an academic process? Because, I mean, can you stop a party that is imminently going to be on the ballot when they have moved past, the train has moved? And those arguments. On the other hand, is the fact that in the end, does your party even stand a chance at the poll?
I don't think there is any party that stands as much chance as ADC today of winning the presidential election in 2027.
Really?
In a free and fair election, I don't see any candidate, any of the candidates that have emerged from any of the political parties defeating our presidential candidate, His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, in the elections.
Even against the concept and the principle of balance of power and spread based on regional consideration.
What is the regional consideration?
Yeah, was
it the consideration that denied a South-South president? Jonathan didn't get 8 years. Why didn't this balance inure to his own benefit so that he can exhaust his 8 years? When is South-South going to complete his 8 years?
So you have a feeling that Atiku can beat Bola Tinubu?
And really, the primary concern of Nigerians now, this balancing, I think you do balancing when a country is at peace, where the people are happy, where daily existence, people are not afraid whether they will sleep and wake up the following day, where the country is undergoing progress. You can talk about balancing. Okay, your turn, you do your turn, we do our turn. But that is, we face existential threats in Nigeria. And there are people who are beginning to fear that 2027 may actually be the last time your vote and my vote will count in Nigeria if we don't get it right. If we don't get it right, this will be the very last time that people will be allowed to choose who they want to elect. It will be by order, by presidential directive in future, if we do not get it right now. So let us get it right and save our country. Yeah, let us rescue our democracy. Let us rescue our people. Let's live for posterity and the children that are coming behind us, a country that they can be proud of.
You think an Atiku and the ADC phenomenon is what can cancel that out?
That is what we offer, and by the grace of God, that is what we are going to give to Nigerians.
The question is, if anything, if 2023 elections and the figures are anything to go by, do you think, I'm asking the question a second time, do you think your party stand a chance?
Talking about the figures, there was only about 2 million or so difference.
That's a lot. In an election. And you know it, Prof.
Yeah, no.
You've been on the ballot before.
Let's do the analysis. Let's do the analysis. Out of the 8.9 million that the president now scored, he got about 5.4 million of that from the north.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that you are aware that many Northerners, many people from the North feel that they have not felt the impact of this government. And that this government seems to be more concerned about one particular geopolitical zone to the exclusion of others. Whether it's in appointment, every agency or department of this government that has to do with money, generation of money, accounting for money, spending money, all come from the same geopolitical zone, which runs contrary to Section 40 of the Constitution that says that every part of the country should be given a sense of belonging, that no agency or department of government must be run in such a way as to give the impression that it is only people from a particular area that are fit for those offices. This government is in violation of that because many parts of the country are excluded from just look at it, name any income generating aspect of this government or any part of the government that has to do with money, whether it is Ministry of Finance,
So
whether it is
based on
central
that
bank,
argument,
whether,
you think that Tinubu will lose?
what I say is that, you know, democracy is to reflect the will of the people and you satisfy the people. It's supposed to be a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. First of all, we want to ensure that government in Nigeria continues to be by the will of the people. We are increasingly seeing a situation where it is not the will of the people, it's just the will of people who sit down to write results. It's the will of judges, some judges who decide, and then it is not for the people as a whole, it's for a select few, elite, those who are within the closed cycle of persons in power. That is not democracy. And people are entitled to feel aggrieved if they've been shut out of government. And I tell you that many people in Nigeria today feel that they and their people have been shut out completely from particularly federal government.
Professor Osareman Osumbo is the leader of the ADC, but thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. Always a pleasure, sir.
Thank you very much, Sheon.
I appreciate it, sir. And I wish you and your party the very best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
God bless you, sir.